What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Daily Squeeze. Brian Farr here with Stock Dads. Hope everyone's doing well. Another all-time high close on the Nasdaq. Shocker there. A little bit of a choppy session overall, but you know what? Your boy went 3 for 3 today, so a pretty good session overall. But you know what? Stocks gained yet again, picking up a little bit of momentum there at the close. We'll take a look at that in just a second. We got a lot of interesting stuff going on tomorrow with FOMC minutes from the prior reading. Usually this is kind of event is a general nothing burger, so we'll see if that is the case tomorrow. We've had a lot of Fed speakers as well, including Waller, who laid down a little bit of hawkish tone there, who said it would be a little while before, possibly cutting rates. We still need to see more data. So actually, he said we need to see months worth of good data. So we'll see what that means in the future. But of course, we had a little bit of batch of retail earnings, especially from Lowe's, and Lowe's actually put out an interesting warning saying that demand is not going to improve at all this year. So ouch, a little bit of a sting there on that side of the world. In crypto markets, Ethereum climbing up on hopes of approval of a new exchange traded funds. As you know, we've already got the Bitcoin exchanged funds there. So why not, let Ether, depending on how you want to pronounce it, goes, so we'll see. But yeah, another new all-time high for the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. Nvda earnings tomorrow after the bell. It's going to be a big test for the market. Dow Jones, up about 67 points. Nothing too crazy going on with the Dow. So let's get into it. It's the Daily Squeeze, guys. All right, let's jump into things here. Looking at the SPY daily chart, we can see that we're still kind of hitting our head a little bit at this 531.50 level. If the SPY can break out of this, then I'm looking at a small target of about 533.41. That would be a measured move off this swing low and swing high. But, for now, we're still just kind of in this tight range that we've been in since about Thursday of last week, as we've just been kind of digesting, maybe buyers getting a little tired, and there's just really been a lack of news. But speaking of lack of news, we did have, a plenty of Fed speakers today. The Fed, according to this article, the Fed still needs a few months of good data to cut rates. And this comes from Governor Christopher Waller, who said we need several more months of good inflation data before he'd consider cutting interest rates. But the interesting part, too, came later on in the afternoon when he finally said just doing one rate cut of the year doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So that kind of peaked things up again, like, okay, so instead of, if we do have a rate cut, we could expect at least two. And that's where this comes into the picture here, where we can see that according to the probabilities of this CME Fed Watch tool, we can see that there's a 51.8% chance of a rate cut in September, followed by about a 45% rate cut in November. We got plenty of data before these decisions get made, of course, but like Fed Waller said, central bankers should never say never, but the data suggests that inflation isn't accelerating, and I believe that further increases in policy rate are probably unnecessary. So we know for a fact that the Fed is just simply not considering any kind of rate hike at the moment, or period, really. But they are saying that we definitely need to see some sort of continual economic data that the inflation rate is improving. So we definitely need to continue to monitor the data as it comes in. But as it sits, it's the same old narrative here. Bulls are in control, and bears, if bears want to sink their teeth in, they really need a catalyst. And the catalyst could maybe possibly be Nvda. We know Nvda has done really well on earnings these past 2 times here. We can see that this last time we gapped up quite a good bit from about 680 all the way to about 750. So a pretty hefty gap there from that earnings. On the prior earnings before that, we did okay. But nonetheless, Nvidia has been on an absolute tear since last year, really, when all the AI craze began. So will Nvidia continue to knock it out of the water and meet expectations? Not only meet expectations, but blow out expectations, and what that guidance is going to be for the future for those AI chips that they are producing. So all eyes on there. But yeah, Nvidia had a good day today. Bullish engulfing candle breaking the outside of yesterday's high. Pretty good stuff here. Semiconductors in general were just kind of inside day, nothing fantastic going on. I was watching LMU to see if it would break out above 130.50. We didn't quite get that today, at least, but nonetheless, things are still looking kind of quiet out there ahead of Nvidia earnings. AMD, not much improvement today. Netflix did have that continuation move all the way up towards 650. It had a breakout day yesterday, continuation today. Yeah, this thing continues to rock and roll. I'm still swinging calls on Netflix, and everything's looking pretty darn peachy keen here in that neck of the woods. But turning our eyes to the indices, yeah, not much has changed here. QQQ breaking out into lifetime highs. If we bring in the 30-minute chart with our volume profile, we can see that once we got above yesterday's volume area high, that's when we kind of started to peak out a little bit more, break out of that today's consolidation. Got a little bit of a D as in dog shape on the volume profile. This suggests to me that we are getting ready for a pretty sizable move in the near term, probably tomorrow. So we'll see if we finally get that range expansion, whether that's to the upside or the downside is yet to be seen. We do have an uncontested point of control down here at about 451.70 that I want to pay attention to. In fact, there's another one all the way down here at 446. At some point, it will be revisited, but who knows when is the next question. Coming over here to the SPY, we've already talked about overhead target's going to be around this 533.41. If we do decide to get range expansion to the upside, if we start to break down these value area lows at about 530, then I am looking for a move towards about 528.77. And then we got all this lack of development area over here at about 527.20, all the way down to that gap area down yonder to take care of eventually. So we'll see how the cards kind of show themselves. As far as the peripherals, dollar, nothing too crazy there. Slightly green on the day, but relatively flat. If we look at the yields were down today as well. VIX lower again. There's no fear in the market, just simply not there. So all in all, everything still looks pretty good for the market. Bulls, you did have a nice inside day on JP Morgan. JP Morgan did have a pretty ugly day yesterday off of Jamie Dimon commentary about recession and not doing any more buybacks for the time being. So JP Morgan was down on that. Inside day today. Yeah, we'll see what else is coming up. But yeah, I continue to like Netflix towards the upside, and we'll see what the rest of the week shapes up to be. Still keeping an eye on ADP for a potential breakout move as well. But other than that, everything's looking pretty good here. Tomorrow, big day, FOMC minutes. We'll see if it's a nothing burger as usual. And then, of course, after hours, we do have Nvidia earnings. Looking at the economic calendar, existing home sales at 10 o'clock, want to be aware of that. But after that, it's pretty quiet until we get those FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me. Y'all have a good one. Take care of yourselves. Peace and love. Bye, guys.